Today, I am happy to welcome Kenny, who you may know from the Degen community or his current project, which does also involve Degen. Poidh. I always think of it as Poid.
Yes, many people do think of this point. That is my bad for a very hard to pronounce name.
I mean, I guess we could just call it Pixar. It didn't happen.
Yeah, Pixar didn't happen. I mean, I generally say Poidh. It's just so long. Uh, yeah, it was a tough decision because it perfectly describes the app, but the name is clunky.
I don't know. I like the names. It is like, as you said, it perfectly encapsulates the concept, and it's like I don't know. It has some cachet.
Yeah, and I like that it's an internet term. I've been on the internet my whole life. Like I grew up on forums, right? That was the early internet for me, like the mid 2000s. And so I just like that callback to internet culture in general with the ideas that it is an actual meme that already exists.
Yes. Is there something in your background?
Yeah, I think it might be getting static, and I don't know why.
Is that the hand? Or sometimes it's just
What
mysterious.
is it? Feedback?
I really don't know. Oh yeah, it went away when you muted.
Let's see here. All right, are we good now?
That is noticeably better. What did you do?
I literally just turned the mic off and turned it back on.
The magic technique that
Okay.
works a lot of the time. The other thing you can sometimes do is just slap it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. A lifetime ago, I was a musician. I like came up as a guitar player, like guitar player through high school and whatever. So I have experience with this. Turn the mic off, turn it back on. Things just work.
What kind of were you in a rock band?
Yeah. It was in high school. I was in the cliche psychedelic rock band. Like trippy guitar solos and Pink Floydish type stuff. And then in college, I actually played for a classic rock cover band, and that was like my supplementary income through college, which was pretty fun.
Wait, the fact that you made any amount of money from it is pretty impressive.
Yeah, we had the not because of me, our singer, she was an ace. She was awesome. Yeah, Stephanie Walden, you can look her up. I think she still plays with people, but yeah, she brought in the crowd. We were just a backing band, and yeah, people loved her. We played in like breweries around town. But yeah, lifetime ago.
And fun. That was your glory days.
Yeah, in a way. I got new crypto glory days now, and I miss the guitar life. I do. Like someday I want to have like a room full of guitars and recording equipment, but it's tough. You got family, kids. There's not a lot of room to bring out a loud electric guitar and
Maybe you
let the
can
kids mess around with it.
maybe you can teach your son to play at some point.
I hope so. I really do. We have like a little acoustic guitar, and I try to keep it around. I play it around him, and he picks it up every once in a while and strums it. And I'm not gonna push it, but yeah, that's a big hope for me.
I feel like I'm still pretty young for it. I remember around like maybe 10, 11, 12, the boys in my class like definitely went heavy into a guitar obsession phase. So, you've got time. Just lay the groundwork.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12. I think that was when I started. It was fifth grade. Fifth grade was when I started getting lessons. But my mom had taught me piano for a bit before then. So I do want to start with that. Like
Mm,
get him playing piano because that gets the music fundamentals down really well. And I have had some luck breaking through on that just because he absolutely loves Zelda. The music in Zelda is very iconic, right? Like he can identify. I play the soundtrack to Tears of the Kingdom. He'll be like, "Oh, that's a boss bokoblin fight." And so I've made some breakthroughs in like playing little riffs from Zelda music on the piano, and I think I can get him interested that way and get him learning.
I bet he thinks you're super cool.
I like to think that.
Not to say that we're not cool, just, the 5-year-old son perspective is, oh, I hope I'm not like I'm not sure whether this is public actually. Maybe I shouldn't have said that.
No, it's fine. I mean, I post about it plenty.
Yeah. I guess you're not the only guy with a 5-year-old out there.
Yeah, no, it's out there. I mean, I like to be. I'm pretty transparent on Farcaster. Like this is living a family life and building in public and uh trying to do a crypto app while juggling many other things. And yeah, I like that about Farcaster. I mean, it feels more intimate. Like I feel like I couldn't say that on Twitter. right? Twitter is for, I don't know, more bombastic takes. I look at Farcaster more as like it's almost the personal journal.
It's cozy.
It's
Twitter
very,
has more like PvP energy just in general.
yeah, 100%. And sorry, so like I figured if I switch off the mic, it goes away. I don't know why the static builds up halfway through. So if you hear me turning off the mic, that's what it is. But yeah, Twitter's very, very PvP, especially now. There's so many people on crypto Twitter now, and I think a lot of people haven't had the best bull market, and there's some hurt feelings and emotions in the crypto market. So the Farcaster's somewhere we can retreat to.
In my crypto market, it
No,
couldn't be so.
now, everybody's logical and doesn't get too emotionally attached to prices, of course.
Well, let's talk about how did you find this whole crazy crypto world? What's your trajectory?
Okay, so I'm a politics nerd. Politics. I remember the Kerry Bush election, right? And I was super sad. Like I loved it. I watched the Daily Show religiously as a kid. So I went to college as a political science major, and then I got it. I took one econ class. There's one teacher, Cynthia Horn at Western Washington University. She has a fantastic history of economics class.
Cool.
And when I took that class, it blew my mind, right? Because like I was into politics, but I don't know, something about economics is the logical stuff behind politics. It's how you can break down and decipher things. And I'm not a good math person by any stretch of the imagination, but I do have some analytical thinking in my head, and it just really clicked with me. And I loved economics. And so I was also on the internet a lot. Early teens, you're on Reddit a lot. You're on the internet. You're going to hear about Bitcoin. It's going to happen. And I remember I took it, I heard about Bitcoin. It was probably 2011. And I took it to her, and she told me it was the dumbest idea she'd ever heard of. And so that was the first introduction, right? My teacher shot me down. I respected her a lot, right? She's still a brilliant professor. And I was like, oh, well, she knows her stuff. I shouldn't go after this. One second, I'm going to refresh the mic so we don't get the static. And so fast forward to 2013, and bubbles forming, and I'm thinking, I've been watching Bitcoin from the sidelines. I'm like, all right, I'm going to get into this. And so I bought pretty much the top of Bitcoin in 2013. I think I bought like $1,000 coin.
A honored tradition, buying the top as your entry.
Bought the top, and proceed to lose money on altcoins on like BTC and stuff. Just yeah, awful time, but fun. I mean, it was wild times back then, and just got so engrossed by it, right? Of like the political ramifications of it, and I actually. At that time I graduated and I was doing freelance writing. I was writing about football, right? I'm a big Dallas Cowboys fan. I wear that on my sleeve. Sadly, they're terrible these days. I was doing some freelance writing for that. I was doing, freelance writing just around like things related to Bellingham, which is the city I was in. And then I saw, I was getting into Bitcoin and come across Bitcoin Magazine, and Bitcoin Magazine was paying like $100 an article or something. And so at that time, struggling post college kid, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hop in and do this. So wrote a bit for Bitcoin Magazine, wrote a little bit for Cointelegraph, and yeah, that was the entrance into the industry back then.
I also got my start as a freelance writer, just kind of blundering around. So that sounds very familiar.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, what did you write for?
I started out, no, in the beginning, no one you would recognize. And then I worked for Inc. magazine for a year and a half or so.
Mm.
And then from there, I got hired at the Zcash Foundation. And then I never looked back to journalism. So I was like, wow, that sucks. I'm gonna do this much more. Yeah, it's sad that journalism is such a grueling industry because I was for a time really passionate about it, but then I decided that I liked enjoying my life more than having a noble job.
It's real. I mean, in high school, I wanted to be a journalism major, right? Like I've always loved writing, and yeah, it's something I wanted to get into. But yeah, I think we both came to the same realization that journalism was a career that it was going away, right? And so you just had to learn to, all right, how do I get my writing out there on the internet? But you took the good path. See, you dove in full time to crypto. See, I dabbled in crypto, and
Mm,
then it was the bear market. Again, I had bought the top, right? And so see some stuff like, oh, this Ethereum ICO. I'm like, no, no, I shouldn't do that. Yeah, I already lost enough money. And so like I kept it in the rear view, but by like 2015, I was like, all right, well, gotta focus on real job, gotta grow up. I gotta funny to say right after. So I got a job at a vape company. So yeah, I joined a company called Mount Baker Vapor, which is up in Bellingham. And Mount Baker Vapor was at the time the premier distributor of e-juice in the world.
Nice.
We were selling like $100,000 of e-juice, and we manufactured it right there. And we were the McDonald's of e-juice, right? Like not gourmet, but people loved us and bought a bunch of us. Yeah, so I got in there. Partly got in because of the freelance writing, though. The guy that interviewed me, I had done an interview with a dark web drug dealer, and I put that on my resume, and he was like, "That's so cool." He's like, "So yeah." So he gets me in there. Worked in the marketing department there, and then that's a whole. I could do a whole podcast on that company itself. Maybe someday I want to do like a Tiger King style documentary because there was characters that came through there.
Oral history of the vape industry.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Oh, there's so much. Who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Moon Poppy about it the other day. That there's so many stories, and I just want to get the guys together that were all there. But yeah, different conversation. But the company quickly went through some issues. They went to Phoenix, Arizona. They moved the company, and I moved down there. Uh,
Was it
and
for
I was
regulatory reasons or?
partly regulatory reasons. I think mainly because the owners wanted to save more tax money and
Oh,
like
fair enough.
cheaper labor. Yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that's a type of regulatory reason.
yeah. But it was kind of regulatory. Like there was some language against vaping coming through in Washington State, which was
Dude, it's
interesting. I got
so
to put the
stupid.
political science background
Like
to
the
play, and they let me write
I want to
blogs
call it
about that sort
unforced
of
errors,
stuff
but that's like
of like
even making it
the
sound better than it
legal and
is.
political
That
angle of vaping, which I'm
people
still
want to quit
passionate about. I
smoking.
think it's a
This
really
is the
interesting
way that like is a path
industry,
toward
but
that.
yeah, the company started
Trying to
going
reconnect.
downhill. So about 3 years in there, I was like, I need to look for something else. Again, I need to grow up. I already grew up a little bit going to work at a vape company.
I
It's time to
think I just lost
grow
my
up even
internet
more.
connection for a minute or
And
so
I
there.
got, there was an opening in an SEO agency in downtown Phoenix, actually inside the Phoenix New Times, which is like the weekly newspaper down there. And yeah, I got a job there, and that really started the SEO world. Oh, did I lose you?
Yeah, my internet connection cut out for mysterious reasons. But I
It
think we're
happens.
back. We're just having all kinds of technical difficulties.
They,
I
they, I mean,
I was ranting about how vaping is I mean the vaping industry like is in some ways kind of like scuzzy and weird. I don't know if it was that way when you were working there, but it is
it's
also
very
very noble helping people quit smoking. And there's all kinds of like stupid misinformation about the actual like people act like vaping is anywhere near on par with smoking in terms of health consequences, and it drives me insane. But
yeah.
what were you saying while I was trying to reconnect?
Yeah, probably. I mean, probably around the same stuff. I was just saying, I'd worked there for a little while, and then I moved to an SEO agency in downtown Phoenix. So that was the transition to the full-time marketing world. But yeah, again, have much love for the vaping world. I think it's fascinating. I think there's a lot of crossover between the vaping world and the crypto world.
Mm.
You can discuss of like misunderstandings and popular conceptions and the way it gets framed politically. But yeah, I was having enough of experience working in an industry that was living on the edge with vaping. So I was like, all right, I'll go somewhere safe. Let's work for an SEO agency. And that's what started that part of the journey.
You know, it's kind of interesting that SEO is maybe not safe anymore now. That
Right?
like AI is really
Every
boosting.
industry. I tend to live on the cutting edge of internet industries. Even though, yeah, SEO, it's I can talk about this too of like the world of AI search and how that's eating into SEO and the way that yeah, I'm trying to learn more about exactly how LLM search results work. But yeah, for now, people are still searching on Google. So if anybody listening needs a SEO consulting help, feel free to reach out. I even also like don't need you as clients, even if you just have questions. I like to help people. I look at it as like networking in the industry too. So
And you're a
yeah,
nerd.
SEO questions, ping me on Farcaster.
Is there an SEO channel on Farcaster?
There is an SEO channel. I don't think it gets a lot of traffic.
Mm.
I think it's the same issue as a lot of the smaller channels on Farcaster, where it's just not enough content going in for it to stand out.
Also,
Let me see.
the current status of channels is kind of weird. They're semi, they used to feel more like it was like a subreddit mashup with Twitter, and now it's more like a public Discord or something, but I don't know. I don't really fully understand what they're trying to do with channels. And I think maybe they don't really understand either, or like it's not defined.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's just testing going on, and I like the idea. Like, I like that we have a PYDH channel and the bot can post in there, but I don't take time to manage it, right? Because it's not exclusive. And I just feel like most of my distribution is coming from people browsing the home feed or the latest feed. So I don't need to worry about it. So I like it. I think that like blog tags, like you can
Yeah,
tag your post with the category you might be interested in. And I think there are people that really like it. Like I know people have built really successful channels and that people go there and they browse it and it's part of their day. It's just not the way that I've come to browse Farcaster on my side.
it is useful for me, like as a way to find content, especially like if I'm, say, reading up on Pics or It Didn't Happen, I can go to the channel, see what people are posting, and like go explore the bot. I mean, I guess, yeah, for me, I do use them in that way as sort of like a jumping off point, but I don't know how common that is. Definitely the most of just browsing goes through the home feed. Anyway,
Yeah, no, that's
I want to circle back to, so how did you start this project? I have this like vague idea that it came out of the Degen, or like when did you join Farcaster and like how did that grow into working on this project?
so yeah, I joined Farcaster in 2022, maybe like 2 months before FTX collapse, I think.
Oh,
And so
damn.
like I was one of the people that like DM'd Dan on Twitter and like shared my ENS address, and he was like, "Yeah, you seem like you know enough about crypto, so here you go. You can come on to Farcaster." But I'd been thinking about it for a while. So I left the SEO agency world in 2021 and went full time into crypto. I went and worked at a company called Block Native. Right, so Block Native hired me for SEO and content services. And at that time, when I had left, I already knew I had a general idea for this like bounties app, right? And actually, it was more around crowdfunding and things like that. And so I continued to refine that idea through 2021 into 2022. And actually, my first post when I got onto Farcaster was me saying somebody needs to build this an app where you can say what you want to get done. You can put the price out there, and anybody can submit proof they did it. And then the person that put the money up, they can confirm. And that's it, right? Very simple. Pay people to get stuff done. The other Sorry, refreshing the microphone real quick. At that time, though, the other piece, I was really more focused on PYDH as a crowdfunding app, right?
Interesting.
And yeah, the thought experiment that had inspired it in the first place was like, how do you put out a bounty to get trash picked up in your city? And anybody can put in money for that to happen, and they can weigh in on releasing the money to a worthy claim. But nobody has to know each other, right? It's fully decentralized, right? There isn't actually um, one person holding everybody's money, and you don't have to give up control. So that was the tough question. That's actually, if you use PYDs today and you do an open bounty, that is the fulfillment of that vision, right? That entire mechanism. So my first post on Farcaster was about that mechanism, and at first I was like, "All right, I'll go on here. This is such a good." I was just classic idea guy. I was like, "This is such a good idea. Somebody's just gonna build it, right?" And like, yeah, maybe they'll give me a shout out because I'm not a dev. I
Mm.
can't write a smart contract. PYDH is the only GitHub repo I've ever run in my entire life. Like, I don't know this stuff, right? But I got on there. I talked about it a lot. A lot of people were like, "Oh, that's a cool idea," and that was it, right? That's a cool idea. Yeah, yeah, somebody should build that, but nobody did it. I was like,
It
all right, I
gradually,
just have to go do it. I
it
just have to
started
go do
dawning on
this.
you. You're like,
Oh, say
I'm
that again.
somebody. Am I the somebody who should build it?
Yeah, it ended up being nobody's going to take it to the finish line, so you got to get it done. And so I found a dev who's Jay Jose, my co-founder, and he did the very early version of it, which I don't know if you've seen the first version of POIDH. It's live at classic.poidh.xyz. You can still see it, and it's incredibly bare bones.
Interesting. I don't think I have seen it.
Yeah, it still has the same iconic blue-pink color format, but it's much more lo-fi.
Nice. Oh yeah, this is you've kind of upgraded since then.
Yeah, yeah. There's a whole redesign that happened early 2024. Shout out ES.GE. Him and the Flock crew, they made that happen.
Nice.
So that was the start. The early start is like, let's just get something live and we'll build from there. And because I was working on, this is all bootstrapped, right? So it's limited budget. I deployed it as not having the crowdfunding feature to start because I realized, well, like, why not just prove the fundamental use case of one person puts money out there, another person does a thing, one person confirms. Right. Much simpler smart contract to write. And yeah, that was the launch of POIDH and how Farcaster played into it.
Nice. So when was that when you actually launched?
That would have been August 2023.
Wow, you guys have been around longer than I realized.
Yeah, no, it's a slow cook for sure because, and again, I'm not a dev, so it's been like you can ask anybody who's followed us for a while. There'll be like obvious features that should have been live the day the day we started, right? Like, I mean, last week we finally added like links to block explorers, so you can see like the transactions that happen, right? That should have been live from day one. It's a slow, iterative process, and just try to make a little bit of progress every week.
And you're balancing this with like doing consulting projects?
Yeah, yeah. So when I started, I was still doing, I was working full time for crypto websites still, and then I went to the consulting life. When would that have been? About summer this past year, summer 2024. And so I've had a little bit more time to devote to POIDH. But yeah, I'm building this thing while, juggle consulting and then the kids and the family, all that fun stuff. But I do, shout out, really, it was Farcaster that gave me the confidence to do that, just because you see so many builders on there and so many people doing stuff in public that, I'm marinated in that community for a while and was like, yeah, why can't I do this? Like, I can build this app and I can bring this vision to life. Everybody else is doing it around me. So yeah, forever grateful to Farcaster community for giving me that confidence.
Yeah, really rad, like collaborative environment. It's fun to keep up with people's projects as they're shipping things week by week.
100%. And it was a place where you could actually stand out in the beginning and people were curious and had great conversations about stuff. I mean, it still is, right?
Hmm.
Again, I come from mid 2000s forum culture and then gravitated to Reddit, right? I was a big Redditor. I still check in on Reddit. I don't post as much as I used to. But I yeah, 2010 through 2015 Reddit,
Mm.
some of the best internet communities I've ever been a part of. And when I joined Farcaster, it felt like that. It was like these are intelligent people wanting to have interesting conversations and bounce stuff off each other and have disagreements but still be respectful about it. And yeah, that's what pulled me in to begin with. I was like, I just gotta keep posting on here.
Yeah, the technical underpinnings of Farcaster are very cool, but the community that is like attracted by that model is for me the biggest draw.
Oh, 100, yeah, 100%. This is why I think what was Dan put out a post the other day of like, the top goal for Farcaster, like what should it be, the framing. And I always come back to like this should be the best place to have conversations about crypto on the internet, right? Just lean into that. Like
This
crypto's
segues well
fascinating.
into the goddamn reply bumping, which I really hear your frustration on that.
Yes, yes, the reply bumping stuff. Here, let me refresh the mic before I.
Well, I'll start the ranting off, which is that that was for me part of what made Twitter so magical. I'm kind of disillusioned with Twitter now. Like I'm not enjoying the X era as much as I did like Twitter of a few years ago. I'm sure part of that is just where I am in my life also, but being able to see other people's conversations and then jump in is like such a special and fun thing. Like you get to like anything interesting that is being talked about by the people that you follow, and then it builds up these networks of mutuals and it helps you build relationships with people. And it's just crazy to me that that is already such an important part of Farcaster without this essential just like infrastructural tweak that supports people getting to know each other better and having more interesting, more in-depth, more complex conversation. So it just drives me crazy. Also, the like not really supporting threads, where if you're trying to do like a series casts, it's not like really displayed in a readable way, and it's not like highlighted on the main feed. That's also crazy to me. Like two of those are two things that makes Twitter so interesting and so engaging, and Farcaster should just absolutely copy those features. Or I guess Warpcast maybe? Like this might be a client side thing. I'm not sure whether the yeah, I think this would be client side. Do you know?
It's client side, but it's downstream to Farcast. So there's a good segue because the point like when they got rid of reply bumping. I don't know, when did you get active on Warpcast?
I think I don't remember the exact date. But I remember at the time that they were like experimenting with reply bumping. I think they might have like briefly brought it back and then decided to take it away again. I might be
Hmm.
misremembering though.
Yes. So what happened was the feed used to be, you had one feed and it was a very simple feed. And this was from 2022 through February 2024, right? And it was just a chronological feed. That's a following feed. And then if the person you followed posted anything, it got reply bumped in, right? So it was literally Twitter's following feed, right? And it was that way until February, and then they switched it. And so what happened, February, you had that huge degen influx,
Mm,
right? And everybody, Farcaster was popping off. People are flying in, and people are giving each other tips. And a lot of people loved the cozy corner aspect of Farcaster, and they were being very loud about this is all spammy now, and there's tips, and this is like the feed doesn't look good. And so they leaned on the team. They're like, hey, let's get rid of reply bumping because that takes care of the tips, right? And that,
in the context of the tipping frenzy, it actually does make sense. But then couldn't
yeah,
they just like filter out anything that contains the word? Well,
yeah,
I guess
yeah,
that
with
might
the
be
tip,
kind of complicated.
yeah, it's more complicated, but there's 100% ways to do it without ruining like the ability to view, good conversations, right? And it's also something that it got taken away, and the day they take it away, right? I DM Dan. I'm like, please, no, you're ruined. Like, I have comments from before this. I think it was like November of 2023 when I was like, reply bumping, they had a thread about asking if reply bumping should go, and I was like, this is the most valuable thing for me on here. This is the only way that I can discover somebody I'm not following, right? Because if somebody I chose to follow, it's a trusted social signal. If somebody I chose to follow replies to somebody else, that gives me visibility on this new person that I've never followed before. It's a great account discovery mechanism. And it's the way that I grew my following because I was just browsing all the time and finding new people and joining in conversations, right? I should absolutely not have 60,000 followers. It's ridiculous, right? And they're highly overinflated because I was like on the degen auto follow list a long time ago. Um, but the reason I have any followers at all, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the noble art of the reply guy must be what deserves recognition in the feed.
It's huge. That's how you grow your brand on social media. You be a reply guy, and it takes it out. So I was very loud when this change happened. Like, this is bad. This is terrible. Like, this is gonna ruin the vibe and ruin communications on here and the community. And the initial response was that they were gonna bring it back soon, right?
Mm.
And then somewhere along the line, I don't know if maybe it's my own fault. Maybe I was too loud about it, and they're like, "Screw Kenny." Like this guy keeps complaining about this. You know what? We're not going to bring it back. But they decided not to bring it back, and the justification was, well, go use another client. Go use another client. There's other clients. Go sign up for Supercast, right? And partly for me, I'm just stubborn, so I didn't want to do that. But the other part being, I'm a realist, and the reality is that alternate clients, none of them have gotten any traction. And in my opinion, if you want like my thoughts on the Farcaster network, I think Warpcast, I'm more bullish on Warpcast than I am on the Farcaster network, right? I'm
It's interesting.
bullish on this app where people are already at and already chatting and that has all the resources. And Dan and V are obviously really freaking talented builders that have like built, they helped build Coinbase. They're hugely talented. I don't think anybody's going to be able to compete with that. With we've seen the clients that people try to launch, right? And they're like bootstrapped and they're scrappy. And I support builders. I do. Like, I don't want to talk down on them, but I don't think the economic. I'm an economics guy. I don't think the economics work for alternate clients. And so the justification being you can't if you're forcing people to go to another client for reply bumping, it's similar to we are all at a party and I'm saying let's turn on the music and get people dancing. And they're saying, well, they have music in that little closet over there. Like you can go in the little closet. I'm like, no, but you're missing the point. Like if Warpcast turns on reply bumping, that gets the whole network dancing. That's the best analogy I can think of.
So that makes me curious about your thoughts on the announcement that Base and Coinbase Wallet, I guess, is going to integrate Farcaster. I'm really curious to see what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I'm curious on that as well. I do like obviously it'd be really cool for distribution. We are trying to get a V2 frame going. It's been tougher than I wanted to. I thought we'd have it live like 2 weeks back, but just been hitting some road bumps. But it's big for us because the thought of somebody can just open Coinbase wallet and they see a silly bounty to, take a picture with an apple on their head and they can earn 5 and it's just being broadcast in there because I'm on Warpcast and I have a frame and it's they want to feature these things. That's big exposure. I love it. At the same time, I am put on my marketer hat and I think about it like what is the intent of somebody that's opening Coinbase wallet and how likely are they to get derailed and follow down the decentralized social rabbit hole just because it's there. So much advertising is okay, you have eyeballs, but does it convert? I have a lot of experience in SEO of trying to pitch or people pitching articles saying, hey, this has 100,000 search volume. You're ranking number one and trying to sell that to a business owner. And the business owner says, we have never once had a conversion from somebody landing on that blog. Never once. Yeah, it ranks number one. It does nothing for my bottom line, right? Because so it's very, very important to think what is the intent behind the people who are going to see this. So yeah, it's mixed for me. It sounds cool. I think a lot of smart people think it's a big deal. So maybe I'm fading the wrong thing here, but I'm not. I don't think it's quite as big as some people make it out.
To see what I've kind of taken away from some of the communications around this announcement is that they want to change the intent of people using wallets, that they don't like they're sort of going beyond the almost like less a wallet, more like on-chain browser. And I believe didn't they acquire Roam, which was doing the on-chain browser thing? Like if you look at their kind of recent spate of acquisition, they're trying to create kind of an alternative internet that runs on base as opposed to on like HTTP, etc. So I don't, it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. I try to
Yeah,
never make predictions because if you never make a prediction, you can't be wrong. That's a life hack for anyone listening.
yeah, and I've been wrong a lot. I was vocally very bullish on Friend Tech. I think that's my biggest miss on Farcaster
All
in
right.
my history. I mean, I still think the fundamental idea is pretty good, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, they are doing the social browser thing. I think that's an interesting point for me because as somebody who has been in the industry, I'm very quote unquote on chain. I do a lot of stuff. Like I mess around with a lot of dApps. I've probably bridged to 70% of the available chains in the universe. And part of why I built PYDH is I'm so kind of bored with the stuff to do. Like I am a power user of crypto apps. I'm bored with it. Like I don't want to add liquidity to a DeFi pool. That's not fun, right? So much of it is just very dependent on gamble on number go up. So when I see the stuff that's focused around like an on-chain browser, I'm like, to browse to what exactly? Because I feel like there's a lot that's lacking out there. Yeah.
They should be browsing to fresh brownies, obviously.
I would hope so. See, the problem is I'm too tired. I like to be talkative and opinionated on stuff, and so yeah, maybe that hurts my ability to get promoted for bounties. But hopefully, we can get people looking for new ways to make money on Degen, make money on base and Arbitrum. That'd be fantastic.
Oh yeah, so that tell me about your history with Degen, because you seem to be deeply rooted there. And I guess you were there when it all happened, or when it first started.
Yeah, so when Josic launched Degen, which I think the initial airdrop campaign, I think it would have been December 2023, and he announced it. And the Degen channel itself had just been a space where we could talk about. I know this is funny now because Farcaster and Warpcast, we talk about a lot of speculative stuff all day now. But at that time, when the Degen channel was created, it was a bit looked down on by the community. That 2022 through 2023 era of Warpcast was a bit like we're building something that is better than the speculative bubble crypto
Yeah,
world, right?
that's kind of hilarious to hear now.
Yeah, and so the reason the Degen channel was created, I believe 0xen, it was me and him. It was mainly me and him posting in there because both of us are, yeah, like we again. I bridged all sorts of chains. I love as much as I talk down on, or not talk down, as much as I'm a little disappointed in the fact that all you can do is gamble on chain, right? I still partake. Like I enjoy it, right? It's fun. It's very fun to buy a coin and sell it for more money. It's terrific. It's good tech, right? And so I didn't talk down on that side, and I always thought it was a little bit silly that Farcaster didn't want to talk about that stuff. I was like, then what else are we going to talk about in crypto? We're not going to talk about the speculative side. So the Degen channel was created as a safe space for us to talk about these things, right? It was like, oh, you want to talk about the coin that 10x overnight? Post it in the Degen channel. Sorry, refreshing the mic. Yeah, so it was our safe space and it kind of built up and the bull market was starting to heat up. I think you had coins running on Solana, WIF launched right around then and the market's getting a little bit hotter and there were some meme coins that people tried to launch. Nobody really did a good job of launching it. It was all a bit of low effort stuff. And then Josic came along and Josic had this mechanism of okay, there's going to be an airdrop, and it's going to be based off of the interactions on your posts that were done within the Degen channel. And I looked at it, and I just loved it from a social mechanism and again, my economics head was like, this is fun, and there's an incentive, and I think I think there could be something to this because this guy, this Josic guy, who I don't know, right? It seems like he gets it, right? Some people just get it with crypto and they're on-chain natives and they speak the same language as me. I was like, yeah, this dude knows what he's doing. Now, not that I'm gonna farm it, but I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna try. Like, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna post a lot. I already post a lot in the Degen channel, so let's see what happens. So yeah, I got that airdrop, got the early leaderboard spot. Might have been top 10, but yeah, it was. So once that happened, afterward it was like, okay, well, maybe something happens with this coin, or maybe not. Let's see. And then it got a little bit of traction, and Farcaster was kind of growing at the same time, and people were getting bullish on the decentralized social thing, and it was a symbiotic relationship, right? There was attention coming into Farcaster, and part of that attention was the fact that there was this coin that if you had been there early, you would have been tipped it, right? And people would have just given it to you. And it kind of built up into that crescendo of February and March last year, where everybody was stoked on it. And I mean, Josic did a phenomenal job of guiding the community and finding partnerships and ways to promote it. And yeah, it was a fun time. And so I'm still heavily involved because when they launched the L3, I was in the process of launching this reskinned version of POIDH. We were going to expand to base, and we were expanding to base. And so I talked to my co-founder. I was like, "Can we add degen chain too? Like, if we're expanding to base, like let's just do 3 chains." And it worked out. It was fairly easy to cut. It's an EVM contract, and so we expanded, and it was big for us. And to this day, our most unique users are on degen chain. More people have used POIDH on Degention than Base or Arbitrum.
Since Farcaster is so like base heavy in general.
Yeah. No. So a lot of people, I had POIDH, the classic version, that's on Arbitrum. Okay. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, you got to be on base." I would just use the app if it was on base, base, right? I launch on base, and I'm not going to name names, but a lot of the similar people, like they still haven't tried POIDH, right? Whereas the Degen community, they took it with open arms. It was just like, "Hey, you're going to use Degen for bounties? Yeah, that's awesome." And they've supported me since day one. So I can't say it. Not like PYDH isn't where it is. I probably give up on it if I don't get that support. And I got a deploy on Degen Week grant from Josic. That's been big. That's like basically been the main treasury for continuing to work and hire freelance developers. And I think there is something to just the psychological effect that it's more fun to earn a 1,000 degen bounty than it is to earn a 0.0015 ETH bounty. Maybe there's something to that as well. But
I
yeah,
think that
it's
was
been
part of
crucial.
why Clanker decided to give each coin like a ridiculously large, I forget what the actual number is. Is it like 1 trillion? But so that you could throw around like large amounts.
Yeah, and pump fun too. Like everybody, the what's the word for it? It's like I'm gonna say metric. It's not metric, but just that design around how or unit bias. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Unit bias plays such a crucial role these days with these coins, and really with the meme coin resurgence of the past 2 years. So much of it is based on that because there are no fundamentals beyond the price for these coins, at very least, right? It means a lot. People have kind of got it down to a science.
It's just psychological hacks all the way down.
Oh, it is. And yeah, but you can lean into it, right? And so I still do enjoy that. And even it does appeal to the normies who try POIDH, right? My family, my friends, people they introduced me to. I'm like, "Hey, you want to do a bounty?" And they like that. Like they also like that the coin they earn is called degen. People have commented on that much more than earning ETH, right? They're like, "Wait, the coin is actually called degen and there's 500 of it and it's worth like $3." All right, like wow, they enjoy that novelty.
The collapse of like coin and content becoming the same thing has been really interesting to watch. Just yeah, this whole ecosystem I find really fascinating. I'm not big into the like gambling aspect of it just because it's like too stressful for me. So that's why I like hire because hire is just like much more of a buy and hold kind of mentality. Oh, that reminds me, we were talking about ETH versus BTC on the timeline the other day, kind of the different like ethos between those two.
Yeah, ETH and BTC. I mean, I might be. Can I be the self-declared a BTC maxi of Farcaster? I don't know if anybody's more loud about it than I am there. That actually comes from my history. When I worked at Block Native, it was an ETH infrastructure company, right? And they were heavily involved with the Ethereum merge and the transition to proof of stake, and they were operating an MEV relay. And I had to get so in over my head I was writing blogs on how to rank for MEV on proof of stake networks. the most the most dense content I've ever written in my life. But I became intimately familiar with the Ethereum roadmap and the way stuff was working, and I would hear about the meetings that they'd have with people that are involved in the dev process. And coming back to my politics, economics background, I am generally a like I like things that are less complex. right? Like complexity ruins systems, right? And I view human systems, right, and organizations as these are organic things, right? They can grow and they can decay. And when you introduce complexity, the surface area becomes so wide to fight off corruption and fight off rot within that organic system. And yeah, I was just so involved with it, and I saw how complex the roadmap was, that is really what made me more bearish on ETH, the asset, versus Bitcoin, which has always been just dead simple, right? Which is people critique it for it, and I could be wrong in the long run. Bitcoin could be too simple, and hey, I was wrong. Is what it is. But for now, it has turned out that ETH asset uh, has not benefited from the merge and the development path, the complex development path they've gone down that many people think it would.
Think of ETH as a thing that you use and Bitcoin as a thing that you save. Like, I'm glad that both exist and they obviously have like very different purposes. And I've never been well, maybe I went through like a brief period of being a Bitcoin maxi, but only very brief because I just think that it's like empirically wrong. Like, Bitcoin isn't the only game in town. There are a lot of other things that are worth money, but I don't think it doesn't make sense to me to like stack and hold ETH the way that you would Bitcoin for like all the reasons that you mentioned. I think of it more.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, yeah, totally. It's that is my main asset that I think is important. I worry about it from what is most important for the industry. Like, I am nerdy about. There's a great book I actually read recently. It's called the Genesis book by a guy named Aaron Van Weerdum. I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly. I used to write with him at Bitcoin Magazine. Aaron probably the best writer about Bitcoin in the world at this point. And so he did this dive into the history of the cypherpunks and why they were influenced by these Austrian economic backgrounds and the goals that they were going for. And it's just this very compelling story of the history of accomplishments that all stacked up to all these people were trying to get at something like Bitcoin, and they didn't know it looked like Bitcoin. They didn't know it'd be there, and they were taking shots at the problem. And Satoshi puts the shot on goal. That is the end of it. But I am a firm believer in this idea of that it is better for humanity to have this unbiased form of money, right? And so that is what drives me more than anything in the crypto space is I want that to succeed. I think it's very important to have money without government influence, and that can lead to a lot of great benefits for humanity. And so that's the main reason why I support Bitcoin. But at the same time, we also need to figure out, okay, we have money without government. What do we do with it? What are the new use cases that are only possible with this new form of future money? And that's where I'll say I give props to you because I couldn't build PYDH on Bitcoin, right? I'm able to build PYDH and do it and deploy a contract. And as somebody that I'm not a dev again, right? I was able to, there's enough devs in the ecosystem, there's enough knowledge that I was able to do that. So I'll always be grateful to Ethereum and the amazing people building things on Ethereum and paving the road to make it easier to build things with decentralized money. I just, I care about that decentralization a lot. Yeah. That's, yeah. No, I mean, this has been fun. Yeah, nothing that completely pops to mind. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, so yeah, PRA. So we got the smart contracts deployed on Arbitrum base, the Gen chain, and then the code's all hosted on GitHub, and then Vercel pulls from that, and so that's a pretty clean, simple stack. We have only recently added like a dedicated database where we can load everything from that because we used to load everything from the chain every single time, right? Like again, it's been a slow, yeah, no, not very performant, right? Like takes a while to load. So yeah, that's part of another example of just how it has been a long road for us to get here. Shout out Farcaster again for getting me connected with the dev to do this though, who's Ivan Yuki Gesho on Warpcast. That's his handle. Just phenomenal dev. And I met him at SeattleCrypto.eth, another great person on Warpcast. He set up a meetup. It was me, him, and the Bluffer, and then Yuki Yesho shows up, and we didn't know him, but he just said, "Hey, I saw there was a Seattle Farcaster meetup, so I came." and we're sitting there at the table, and I asked him if he wants to try my app, right? And so he did. He uploaded a photo of it was supposed to be a photo of the Mariners game, but he took a photo of a tennis game. There was a little bit of a language barrier there, but he uploaded that. He claimed the bounty, and then he told me he liked the app. He thought it was cool, and he wanted to help me out. And he's very involved in the nouns community, and so I looked at his work that he'd done. It was so cool. I think nouns.sh he built that website, and it's just so high quality. It's like, yes, we should work together. So he's been helping me out a lot these past couple months, and he's the one that got the server running. So yeah, that's the whole stack. A team of awesome people that have helped me pull it together. Can't say enough. I can't shout out everybody because I think in general we've had like 16 different contributors, most of them coming from WordCast. So yeah, that's how it runs on a day-to-day basis, and it's not a complex app, but I do like that it gets the job done. That 100% it, and that is the idea behind those open bounties. Is if you dive into the paragraph blog, I've written at length about the reason why I think these open bounties are important and why I think they could be a substantial breakthrough. I mean, it's hard for me to say this because it's a little bit, what have I proven yet? Not much. I have a little app with like 1,000 bounties done, but I think we have created with POIDH a way for people to pool money and get things done without any central control, right? Nobody loses access to their money until the job's completed, which it's not possible in human history before crypto. You couldn't do that without crypto. And most of the crypto stuff right now, the crowdfunding tools, it's kind of similar to the way that we do things in the traditional world, where it's still like, yeah, it's a DAO, but it's three people and they all hold the keys to the multi-sig and everybody's just sort of trusting them. Right. And so PIDH was this idea of like, let's build something that's truly decentralized where people can organize to get things done. And I also think it's innovative in that it's very clearly task based of like, let's do this one thing and everybody can agree that this one thing got done versus there's a lot of mission based things where it's this soft like we're going to promote skateboarding in web3. It's like, okay, so how do you measure that, right? And if you don't have clear tasks, you get scope creep and people get disinterested in it, and you have to have start a discord and somebody's got to manage it for years and years. I like this concept of let's do one thing, let's raise money, let's get it done, and that's it. Yeah, I'm very. That's just I don't the way that my brain works, and maybe it comes from my SEO background. Like I worked at agencies, and I was just an SEO machine of get tasks done. I need 10 keywords for these 5 URLs, and I really locked in um, on that workspace and that headspace, and I enjoyed it, right? And so I think I brought that to the table when designing POIDH, just that you need to have very clear directives and it needs to be everybody should be able to audit exactly what got done. And it was also the only way to solve that problem of how do you crowdfund for things in a decentralized manner, because I don't think you can for soft goals, but you can for these clear deliverables much easier. Yeah, so hard, and it's such a yeah, I should probably apply for like more grants and stuff for POIDH, but I'm so not good at like that whole way that funding's done of like write out a whole form and do it in this structure. It just doesn't work for me. Hence my product is incredibly simple of upload a photo and give me the proof, and if it's good you get paid. I know I need to go after that so much. It's on the list. Yeah, no, yeah, no. I mean, again, shout out DGen for like they're the ones that have really come through with us for retroactive funding. So that was huge. But also, I think where I am is there's so many. I think we're close to having the app in a place where it's really ready for prime time, and we have like loading issues figured out. Right? Okay, we finally added a server, but there are things that just still small bugs here and there that are not great. But most of my focus right now is let's iron out these bugs and issues, and then once I feel really proud about it, and once I feel like this app is ready for showtime, if we got a flood of users, it would be able to handle it. I think I can get more involved on like, all right, let's apply for grants and things like that, and take the foot off the gas on the development side. But I love this. Awesome. Super cute. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's the fun. I love that the bounties, they're very open-ended. Yeah, a lot of times people will come and be like, why don't they have deadlines? I like this organic idea that, it gets claimed when it gets claimed. The person who put it up, they have to come through on their word, but otherwise, it's straightforward. And it's always interesting to me to see what takes forever to get claimed and what gets snatched up quick. Thank you for getting the Chappelle Roan one very quickly last night. Actually, I thought that was going to sit for a while. I thought it was going to sit for a while. My wife was like, "No, somebody's going to get that super fast. Like it's obvious." I'm like, "This is hard." You made a fungi reference to a Chappelle Roan song, but no, you snagged that. So thank you. So good. And that's such a fantastic song. I think I was singing that the rest of the night. She's good. She's very good. Yeah. Yeah, performer through and through. I can appreciate. I was never good at that angle of, I was a good guitar player, but I just respected the people that could go all out as a performer because I could never concentrate on those two things at once. So when I see somebody that puts that together, not only a top tier musician, but you can put on a show, it's all the respect in the world. 100%. So she's crushing it right now, and hopefully someday we'll get Chappelle Roan doing like a real PYDH bounty. I do think that's the future. Like if you can get fans to crowdfund their favorite artist to do something, that'd be very fun. Yeah, yeah. I thinking always for me, like if you can crowd, some town in the middle of nowhere really wants a Chappelle Roan show, and they put together a bounty for her, and everybody can chip in some money, and other people they're like, yeah, it'd be cool. Like I don't live in this town, but I would love to see Chappelle Roan go to this city. Like that's the dream come true. People starting to use PYDH for those sorts of social initiatives. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and he gets rewarded. And the fun thing to think about too is that every PYDH bounty is an NFT. So you would have that. So the person who organizes it and goes through the trouble of getting it promoted and getting people to put the money in, you get this reward, right? I don't, I like to say that PYDH is a purely non-speculative crypto app. No. You don't use PYDH because you expect to flip a 10x. You use it because you have some use to pay somebody. But there is the cherry on top that you do get an NFT, and if you inspire something that is cool and significant in the world, it's a collectible. You could have the Pitbull NFT from his the proof of his visit to the North Pole, right? What's that worth? I don't know. But it's something. I'm sure it's above $10 at least, right? Yeah. The world would be a better place. Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. Thank you to anybody that took the time to listen. This is a pleasure. I love chatting this stuff. So thank you so much for thinking of me. Yes. Yeah, we need. Yeah, I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about splits a bit more. So next next show, I want to learn more.